Okay. Hello, I am Liang Du, and today I will present to you the result of my research on do open political institutions contribute to the success of a nation. Because my research has quite a bit of overlap with sociology, economics, and political science, I feel the need to first stress how the study of history played an important role in it. The chief benefit of history is that it allows better comparison between states of different eras. Moreover, knowledge of history enabled evidence to be more easily gathered. To discuss the question, it is vital to first define what is national success. In my research, I define national success as economic prosperity, as exemplified by this graph of the distribution of global GDP, and military strength, as exemplified by the maximum territorial extent of the Roman Empire, as indicated by this map. Another definition to be given would be what accounts as open political institutions. In this research, the openness of political institutions is measured according to three criteria. First, the distribution of political power, whether the power to formally influence government agenda is held by the many or the few. Second, check and balance, the degree to which government bodies were able to prevent one another from abusing their power. And lastly, the guarantee of individual rights. If any of you are familiar with the book Why Nations Fail, The Origins of Power, Prosperity, and Poverty, you should find parallels between my research with the argument of the book quite easily, as I was directly inspired by the book to undertake my research. However, a problem with the thesis of the book that I found is that, according to the authors, sustained economic growth, and thus national success, can only be achieved under open political institutions, because creative destruction, the replacement of old technologies with new ones, cannot take place without them. Even if the premise that creative destruction is necessary for sustained economic growth is accepted, there are still problems with the thesis, because creative destruction can take place without open political institutions. The spread of the printing press in early modern Europe was a prime example. At a time when the European continent was dominated by kings and nobles, a circumstance indicating the lack of open political institutions, the printing press spread all over Western Europe, pushing traditional methods of book production out of business. This is a clear example of creative destruction taking place in the absence of open political institutions. Open political institutions are beneficial for nations to achieve success, but when conditions are right, autocratic societies without them can also achieve incredible success. The Roman Empire was a prime example of success without open political institutions. Between the reign of Augustus and Marcus Aurelius was a 2 centuries long period known as the Pax Romana, the Roman peace, during which the empire enjoyed undisputed military dominance in the Mediterranean and economic prosperity at home. Open political institutions have various benefits, the most important of which is political stability achieved by decoupling political power from an economic gain and guaranteeing the people in power a safe exit option. When economic gain of holding political office is small and people in power have no fear of relinquishing it, the likelihood of a bloody power struggle is greatly lowered. However, as previously shown, these benefits are conducive to the success of nations, but are not necessary preconditions. To better understand the impact of open political institutions, I examined 4 successful states with open political institutions throughout human history in my research: classical Athens, the Roman Republic, the British Empire, and America. However, as a result of the constraint on time, only 2 case studies, Rome and America, will be discussed in this presentation. We will look at the Roman Republic first and examine how the Romans conquered a great empire and how the Free State eventually collapsed. Let us first look at Rome's institutional strengths that contributed to the success of the Republic. Perhaps The most obvious institutional strength of Rome was its strong check and balance. The Roman elected magistrates with short terms and always elected more than one man for the same office in order to dilute their power. Moreover, as demonstrated by the great ancient historian Polybius, Rome had three main political bodies: the people, the Senate, and the consuls, each exercising various powers and being constrained by the other two. Effective check and balance meant that for the vast majority of existence, the republic was politically stable, a prerequisite of economic and military buildup. The Roman Confederation was the greatest contributor to Rome's successful expansion. As indicated in the graph, when the Romans gradually conquered the Italian peninsula, various peoples whom they defeated were given various degrees of right and privileges, with all Italians eventually receiving full citizenship. The incorporation of defeated enemies into the Roman state as equal partners enabled the Romans to draw loyal soldiers from them and form the largest army west of India, whereas the largest Greek army ever assembled was the 50,000 strong army Alexander the Great used to conquer Achaemenid Persia. It was estimated that around the eve of the Second Punic War, the Romans could assemble 10 times as many soldiers. To better put the numbers in context, during the Battle of Cannae in the Second Punic War, the Romans lost 67,500 soldiers to Hannibal in a single battle, more than the entire army of Alexander the Great. And nonetheless, as they pressed on, they still managed to win the victory of the war eventually. Rome was not without its institutional weaknesses, the most notable of which was the predominance of the Roman Senate. Lifelong membership of the Senate was granted to all Roman politicians who have reached the rank of quaestor. As a result, the Roman Senate was composed of the most wealthy and powerful segment of the Roman elite. It wielded immense power in the Roman state, was relatively independent of popular influence, and, unfortunately, had a tendency to impede needed reforms. In the late 2nd century BC, the economic condition of the common Roman citizens steadily deteriorated, and as holding property was a prerequisite of military service, this also meant that the Roman army had fewer and fewer soldiers. Tribune Tiberius Gracchus and his brother Gaius Gracchus attempted to address this problem through land redistribution, but both of them were murdered as a result of senatorial opposition. The crisis of manpower shortage was eventually resolved by the person shown in the slides, Gaius Marius, through the abolition of property requirement of military service altogether. This course of action had dire consequences. The poor Roman citizen who enlisted en masse following the reform of Marius had little loyalty to the Roman state, headed by the Roman Senate, because it was not responsive to their grievances and even murdered people who would actually like to help. Instead, they were loyal to their generals, who waged civil wars with their support, during which the Republic was in the end brought down. Now let us examine how open political institutions contributed to the success of the United States. A main institutional advantage of America compared to the Roman Republic is that, from the very beginning of the American nation, political power was distributed very widely. Colonial America inherited the idea of property ownership affording voting rights from Great Britain. This, combined with the fact that land, the most common form of property, was extremely abundant in the colonies, meant that the vast majority of white male population was able to vote, according to scholar Donald Radcliffe. Even in Virginia, a state notorious for its restriction on voting rights in the colonial era, it was estimated that 2/3 of adult males were able to vote. The benefits of widespread suffrage cannot be overstated. Aside from making it difficult for a powerful minority to dominate the agenda of the government, like the Roman Senate did, widespread suffrage also gives elected leaders unquestionable popular legitimacy, greatly enhancing political stability. A unique strength of America was the nation's long tradition of taking in immigrants. Immigration allowed America, a sparsely populated nation at its founding, to quickly gain the manpower needed to populate the vast North American continent. When independence was proclaimed, every single old world power in Western Europe was more populous than the nascent republic. However, as of today, America is more populous than the entire Western Europe combined. Moreover, a large population means more soldiers and more workers, directly contributing to America's economic and military strength. In the modern era, the military strength of a nation is more or less the direct reflection of this nation's economic power. America, thanks to a large number of immigrants arriving and a business-friendly legal environment, was able to quickly industrialize in the 19th century and grow economically continuously afterward. As of now, America has the largest GDP of any nation on Earth. This, combined with high GDP per capita, translated to an enormous military budget, as indicated in the graph, which is the first place in the world and many times larger than the second place. Rome and America possess many similarities, yet, because of different institutions, when faced with similar challenges, the fate of the two nations was drastically different. In both 1st century BC Rome and early 20th century America, societal changes greatly exacerbated wealth inequality and the living condition of the majority of the citizens. In Rome,
2 minutes, Leon. 2 minutes.
In Rome, as previously discussed, the inability to cope with the challenge resulted in the downfall of the Free State. In America, on the other hand, with political power vested in a broad segment of society, the challenge was effectively addressed. The Americans elected a streak of reform-minded officials, most notable of which being President Roosevelt, Taft, and Wilson, and enacted various reforms that effectively addressed the societal problems of their day, successfully prolonging the survival of American democracy to today. And here is the end of my presentation. Thank you all for watching.
Oh, thank you so much, Leon, right on time. We have now exactly 5 minutes for